So the format I'd like to do here is Phil and Anna are walking around asking everybody if they have any questions, and I'd like to talk a little bit about what we're doing and my vision for the industry and what I think is happening and where I want to take it and how I want to do it with you, the talent here. Do we have anybody to start off, Phil or Anna, that had a question that wanted to come up here and start the chat? Come on up.
I gotta come up?
Yeah. This is a fireside chat.
Nobody said I had to come up. Oh, and guess what? I guess with my question, there is math. Oh, I've got to sit here.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So, Patrick, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Patrick. Good.
So,
Not quite yet, not quite yet.
all right, so I've actually heard a couple, wow, this makes me short. I've heard a couple of your web interviews.
Maybe the
Paul
other
was
side.
nice enough to, wherever Paul went, he was nice enough to interview you a few weeks ago. And I like how you've kind of set everything up for the voice actors.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming most of us are voice actors and not purchasing our work. And you've kind of capped the numbers for various genres.
Yes.
So my question is, as a middle-aged white dude with a bass to baritone voice, how many other middle-aged white dudes with a bass to baritone voice am I competing with?
I don't know the exact number on that, but what I could tell you is how we're doing the roster. The roster makeup is based off data. We didn't just guess. We want to start with 1,000. There's a few things that went into it. Again, I'm a software guy. I'm a nerd. I can't do this voiceover stuff, but I'm good with numbers and killer on a calculator. What I did was, I own Voice Casting Hub as well, and we've done a few thousand projects over the last year with that. And I looked at the project makeup, what was happening there. And there's some numbers I know. We had like about 56% of the projects were for men and 44% women. We knew some of the age groups, the accents. So we have a lot of data of what the makeup of the projects, mm-hmm. right? So we used, here's what the percentages are for middle-aged white dudes with the baritone voice. And we laid that information on top of some Google Analytics data. We know that there's 80,000 searches for hire voiceovers a month in the US and Canada. We know that if you purchase the #1 space for all 80,000 searches, it's going to be somewhere between $18,000 and $22,000 a month. With that, and this is all Google data, and this is available publicly from Google using Google Webmaster Tools, that's going to get us about 7,500 clicks on average a month. And if we figure that we could convert 1 in 7, we could get about 1,000 projects a month. So if we have 1,000 projects, and and Google's not the only thing. It's the easiest to quantify with numbers. And what I like to use a lot here, it's the primary. For us, it's Google and Bing and search engine are the biggest place where we're going to get work. And again, it's easy to explain those numbers. So with that 1,000, and we overlay what the project makeup data is, and then that's how we've determined our roster. Okay. Is that every category, whether you're a native Mandarin Chinese speaking person, a middle-aged white dude with a baritone voice, or a Spanish accent, woman in her 20s.
Well done, sir.
That you're going to be in a category that's equally competitive, right? Mm-hmm. And I'll kind of segue into one of the questions that we usually talk that kind of goes after that is, what's your algorithm for selecting talent? And we're really light on the talent algorithm selection side. When you limit a roster, and there's other casting sites out there that do that as well. There's one in the second row that does that. When you limit a roster, you have.
Oh, hey, how are you doing, buddy?
You didn't think you'd come to voiceovers.com chat and get a shout out to Badalgo, but It's the right thing to do, and when you limit your roster, you don't need to worry about a heavy algorithm to figure out how to invite talent. Yeah. The sites that do that they've used an algorithm to solve a problem that they created, and the problem they created is they let anybody with a credit card on, and they have far too many. The ratio to members to actual projects is off. Yeah. The membership ratio far outweighs the projects. So to figure out how to deal with that, they've come up with algorithms, and they can punish you for things like going on vacation or not auditioning enough, right? Or how do you, if you have 1,000 auditions and 30,000 talent, you have to have an algorithm to help you figure that out, right? So their membership roster isn't tied to any real number other than the number on their profit and loss statement. Mm-hmm. And we've tied that number to our project volume. And so we're going to make sure that it's, we'll add on more members, but we're going to make sure that it's based on the volume of project, and that as we do add on, it's not just anybody, it's people in the categories that become more in demand.
Did he answer my question? Yeah. Okay, excellent.
If you raise your hand, you're going to have to come up. You can hand off. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks.
Yours.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, Nat. I'm Mo Rock.
What? I'm sorry, what?
Mo Rock.
Oh, hey.
I know, I say it too fast. Okay,
We talked on the phone, so
There you go. Where's my scotch? Shots, please. I just want to expand on this lack of algorithm thing, and I know I've talked to you kind of in depth about it, and so other people I have, and I'm still kind of a little confused, and I'm glad that there's no algorithm. Yet, okay, let me give you an example. Let's say the client asks for 20 auditions, and there's 100 people that fit in that category. How are you going to pick those 20 people?
It's not that we have a lack of an algorithm. It's just, it's not as intense of an algorithm.
Okay.
It's basically it's just balancing. It's just load balancing.
So it would be kind of like a rotation?
Yeah, it's basically
So
round
like
robin.
these people, this 20 people would get for this time, and the next time that happened, then this 20 would get it?
It's pretty, I mean, that's I wish it was more complex than that, but that's really it.
No, I like that it's not more complex than that. That's fair.
There's
That's
not
fair.
a crazy algorithm. You're not punished again for not auditioning.
Or
there's
auditioning too much.
Auditioning too much. There's not a lot of factors that affect that other than because we vetted everybody that's on the platform, and we're limiting it, and we're limiting it based on category. That because we're doing all that, we don't need to have an algorithm other than round robin. Like that's legitimately it. We focused our efforts in building an algorithm on the front end for the buyer, because that's where I think it really belongs, and that's what Decipher VO is all about. Mm-hmm. So,
one more question before I go. I know you take.
You only get one. No.
You say that you're eventually going to expand the talent base based on jobs. Will you be expanding gold as well, or no?
I don't think so.
Just staying with the 60.
Yeah.
So if we're on the wait list, it's going to be when someone dies?
Or if you kill them.
Oh, if I kill him. Okay, watch out. I'm good, thank you.
Did it? Who's next? Anybody have a question? No? I could talk about Decipher VO. Is that, yeah? Cool. Okay. I'm a nerd. There's no secret about that. As I was looking at some of the casting sites out there that were doing well, there were some things that I saw that could be improved on, right? And having a voice casting hub and talking to agents and talent, I saw that rate deterioration was an issue. I can't disagree with that, right? some of the reasoning behind that, I think, is accurate, and then some of it wasn't. Right? I saw some agents and some talent even kind of demonizing buyers. Right? Like they don't want to pay. They're driving down rates, and I didn't think that was accurate. There are some casting sites out there that enable them to do that, right? And I think I talk a lot about leading with value. If you lead with value, price is a secondary conversation. And what happened is, what you see on some of these sites is there's a long form that's standard to fill out for a buyer to post a project. And they offer you a range, $1,000 to $10,000. I'm no fool, and I want a good deal just as much as everybody else. I'm going to pay $1,000. I'm not saying, screw you, I don't value your work. I want a good deal. I'm going to pay $1,000. I use car analogies a lot. If I go to a car dealership and I want to buy a Porsche, and the salesman says, you could pay $10,000 or $100,000 for this, I'm giving that guy $10,000, and I'm getting the hell out of there as fast as I can. And not going to feel bad about it. If you didn't want it for $10,000, don't say it, right? But I'd be just as happy and feel like I got a good deal if I went in there and they said, hey, this is $50,000. And for Porsche, that's a good deal. I applied that value philosophy to the buyer process. And, when you make it easy, and Decipher VO, at the end of the day, what it does is it's an AI bot that asks a few questions. It goes to basically an interview process, right? I don't think the long form works for everybody. And what happens is it asks the buyer a question based on how they registered, right? A buyer registers, says, hey, here's my first name, last name, email address, and from a drop-down box, what describes you best? Are you a small business? Are you a video game creator? Are you a producer, a marketer? So based on how they register, their project posting process is going to be a little different. The small business owner, the non-professional voice buyer, has different needs and uses different language than the producer, the ad agency, studio. So we're using a language that resonates with them, and we're asking them questions one at a time. So we're using HTML5 to dynamically generate the next question. So even if you're a small business, depending on the answer to your first question, you may get a different second question each time you post, depending on what you're doing. And that's the same for an ad agency or anybody. And what's going on is the Decipher AI bot is taking your answers, determining what the next step is, and cross-referencing a rate card in the back. And then it's presenting what the price is at the end, going, basically, thanks for the questions. Here's what you should pay. This is what a good deal is. And is it foolproof? Will everybody love that? No, but it works well in a lot of other industries. I use Apple, and iTunes is a good example. In 2003, the RIAA was fighting against digital music. They thought that record companies were going to go broke and go under, and that artists would starve. And digital music theft was everywhere. And Apple and Pandora came around and found a way to make it easier than stealing. And people actually started paying more per song than they were with a CD. They led with value. They actually charged more. Not only did they charge more than stealing, they charged more than people were paying before, and people were happy to do it. Now nobody says digital music, it's just your music. So leading with value is a great way to make price a secondary conversation. And really that's what Decipher's all about, is everybody wants to feel that they get a good value and they get a good deal, and that shouldn't, it's just not all about price. And basically that's the premise of it. And that's what they're doing. Did anybody have any questions on that? Did I cover that? What's that? Oh, okay. Before, did anybody have any questions on Decipher? The algorithm part? No?
Do they have to go with the price that you say, or is there any wiggle room, or what options do the buyers have?
You know, right now they have to go with the price that we say. We're going to look at the abandonment rate on that and see what it is. You know, these are new ideas. I'm not just, I didn't just get a cool domain name and copy somebody, right? I have a vision and a strategy, and you know, I've done startups and other technology platforms before, and you have to be willing to, you have to be able to look and analyze the data. And you know, something we thought maybe we do add a little wiggle room, maybe like, you know, like a 10% wiggle room. It's something that we're not going to start. We're going to see how that goes. There's always, if you have any e-commerce site, there's always a cart abandonment, you know, stats that you need to look at and figure out why people are not checking out all the way. It's something that we're going to be closely keeping an eye on, and we're going to. You know, the answer isn't black and white, right? We can't just say, hey, they're abandoning, so we have to just not do that. We have to just allow people to put it in, because then we're put in with the rate they want, because then, you know, we're not really accomplishing the mission that we set out to do, right? So, you know, it's tricky. You got to find what that happy medium is, right? How do we fight rate deterioration? How do we get talent paid what they're worth, and make the buyers feel that they're getting a good value? And and that's why, again, why we have the algorithms and why we're analyzing everything for the buyer. I feel like the best way to service the talent is become partners with them and just bring it work. You know, all I talk about is creating an amazing buyer experience, obsessing over the buyer experience, because at the end of the day, you know, you didn't give me your money to just hang out and talk and have Thanksgiving dinner. I mean, we're partners. You did it to make money, and everybody, you know, everybody here is more than just an actor. They're a voiceover entrepreneur, business owner, and that's what it's all about. So we're really going to keep an eye on that and make sure to make any adjustments we need, if it's even needed, and you know, make the right decisions along the way. So. Yeah.
Separate, as a follow-up to his, will there be an email follow-up saying, hey, we noticed you didn't check out, your card's still full, come back? Will there be some?
Yeah, there'll actually be email and a call. There'll be manual follow-up. It's not just an automated. We really want to know, again, I think obsessing over the buyer process is the best way to provide value, and the best way to get a continuous flow of jobs. I'll kind of segue into another conversation, is talking about the best way to service talent. Is I see all the members as partners, and early on, people talked about there's some conversations online like, oh, you take a project fee, you take escrow. You have this escrow and you take a project fee. You know, there's some asshole up north that does that. You know, like, what do you know, is that you're going to be that guy? And no, you know, how I approached it was, I set membership pricing lower, and because I wanted to put my financial interests aligned with the talent. Again, because I saw, I mean, a year and a half ago, the only voiceover talent I knew was my wife, and she was awesome. So that was like, when the opportunity came up to do this, I was interested. But over the last year, I got to talk to a lot of other talent, and I really saw them. While I had not a lot of understanding of the voiceover industry, or you know, the technical parts of it, I definitely appreciate it. I just, you know, had no experience in it. I was able to bond with them all and talk about running a business, you know, and that's, you know, creating and running a business are a passion of mine, and so I was able to connect with a lot of them on a different level. And, you know, again, that's why we created the site. You know, I don't like the term P2P. I like online casting for voiceover business owners. And that's what it's all about. I put a lower price for membership, and the focus was, I want this to cover the overhead. This should keep the lights on, get the support staff paid, get development and hosting. I don't make $1 off the membership, right? Like we're limiting the members, and the membership cost was determined based on here's what the cost is to keep the doors open and keep the lights on, right? Keep the site up. And I put money into an advertising fund for the first year to work through it and figure it out. And the project fees, that's where it goes. The percent that we take out of the project goes into escrow, and then that first 18 to 20K is returned to replenish the marketing. You can't run these sites with good intentions alone, right? It takes money, and it takes a constant flow of money, and that's what we have to do to be truly competitive against, the evil giants or whatever in the industry, what you want to call them. I have every intention of eating this guy's lunch, and that's what we're going to do. And he can't outspend me. He could spend just as much, but again, 80,000 searches in Google, he can't spend more. He could spend the same. At the end of the day, if somebody searches for voiceovers and they see voiceovers.com and voice.com, anybody who's using Google, they don't have any preconceived notions, right? Like, that wins. We'll get more than half the clicks. I'm going straight for, the jugular here, and that's... But our financial interests are aligned. Personally, I won't make $1 until you do, right? If I make $1 million a year out of this, then that means every talent should be excited, because there's a lot of new millionaire talent walking around, right? So if nobody's making money, I'm not making a dime. If you're making a little bit of money, I'm only making a little bit of money. At the end of the day, whatever the membership, the partners, the member partners are doing, I'm there with you. So our financial interests are aligned. So I want to get in more projects. I want to keep feeding the beast and getting that in. Everybody here wants more projects, new buyers, to build new relationships, to get new recurring agreements with people, or just, that's why you're here. That's what you want. And I'm on the same page. And I think the best partners are those that you can empower, and if your financial interests are aligned, then that's the way to do it. There's some other sites that make money, their financial interests are the opposite of yours, right? If they need to, say a company, a few months ago decided that they wanted to make more money because they were trying to sell, and they decided to add on 3,000 more members, what happened to their loyal base that's been there for 10 years? They would hypothetically start leaving and asking for refunds and go to a new site. And that's what happens. If a company that only does the membership model here wants to make more money, if that's their intention, then it's going to be at the expense of the talent. And that's tough, So, that raised a couple hands. Who wants to come up?
I got one right here.
Cool.
Actually, is this thing on? Does it work? I don't know how to
Yes.
use it. Ooh. Oh, God. It's so exciting. Actually, sorry. So I wanted to go back to the Decipher for one quick second.
Okay.
Sorry about that, but
No,
had the
it's
question
actually
and-
time's up.
Oh,
No, I'm
yeah.
just kidding. No,
So I want to go back to Decipher for a second. So what research have you done from the buyer side, from the voice buyer side, to understand whether or not there is an appetite? What's going to be the abandonment rate, or is there an appetite? Do they just really want to have a price, or do they want to set their price? So just kind of finishing out that thing.
There is an appetite, and that's. I certainly wasn't sitting around bored 8 months ago. You could ask my wife. That's boredom's never an issue. But what happened was we had a lot of buyers on the hub. When the hub came out, it was kind of designed around a platform that had just passed away, and we had to marry a user interface that was very outdated with some newer automation to make it competitive. And because we were serving a very niche market. And generally speaking, the market wasn't larger size buyers or non-professional, professional voice buyers. It was, if anything, it was generally, it was a generational market. And it was a type of buyer that said, I've done it this way for 15 years, I don't want to change. There were many more buyers, though, and we did it, and it's staying around. We actually had a press release this morning. I'll tell you a little bit about some of the things we're expanding there, but there were a lot of buyers at these same companies, some of the larger advertising agencies that actually said, look, we were a little bummed. We were hoping. We hated that other platform. It was old. It looked like Craigslist, and it was just terrible. If I'm buying used tennis shoes, it's great, but not for casting professional voices. And they were hoping for something that was easier to use, like some of the other popular casting platforms, but could have good talent. There was a lot of buyers that felt like this site is painful to use, but this is where the good talent are, right? And then this site's easy to use, but it's like finding a needle in a haystack. And there's just so much garbage here. Why can't I just have a site that's easy to use that has good talent? And I was like, well, hold on a second. Let's talk about this. You can. And that's how it was born. There was a lot of producers, and it was generally a younger generation of ad agency producer that actually helped develop the buyer interface for this. It wasn't just something that I was guessing. It was something that was in demand, and people have asked, well, why didn't you just make those changes to the hub? And it's tough. It's an entirely different user experience that these people are expecting. And I'm a car guy, so I do car analogies a lot, and it's you get a nice Ford F-350 Supermax diesel for $50,000, or you can get a Corvette, right? They're different. They're different needs. They're for different people. One's not better than the other, and they're really not competitive. You could put this 4x4 dealership next to the Corvette dealership. One of them's not cannibalizing the other. Actually, probably complementary. Nobody with $50,000 is going, do I buy the Corvette or do I buy the, a guy in a cowboy hat's probably buying the 4x4, and a middle-aged guy who's probably buying the Corvette. So, that's.